Hey guys, welcome to this video, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to create this exact look using my brand new lighting rig that my dear wife got for me. I love you, Christine. You are the love of my life and you fund my dreams, quite literally. So this look is achieved by having two different lights placed at different positions. The foreground is exposed and the background is slightly less exposed in a dark room environment. I'm actually in a very dark room. If I were to turn off all my two lights, you're gonna have this situation where you're probably not gonna see very much. Yep. This is just the room light, and as you can tell, I'm severely underexposed and I'm not even in the right color temperature because I don't have the good stuff happening. Back in business. I love this look. This look is the look that I've seen a lot of YouTubers achieve, and I didn't know how to do this, so here we go. I want to show you step by step how to achieve this look, and the problem with this kind of setup is that it needs a bit of money. But don't worry, the stuff that I got isn't very expensive. I'm going to show you step by step, and I'm going to give you prices along the way to give you an indication of how much this YouTube setup costs. For one thing, I'm using an EOS 600D. That's a very cheap camera, and you know, it's around, I think it's what, 8 years old now, and this camera has been with me for a very long time, and but I still managed to get good results out of it. I'm even using the kit lens that comes with it, you know, the EFS 18-55 kit lens, that plasticky thing that no one really wants to buy. You know, I've put this lens up on carousel for months and no one has bought it yet. The thing about this lens is that at the wider setting in 18mm, it tends to compress the face a bit, so you know, it makes me look a bit skinnier than I actually am. That's one of the things that I like about this lens. Yeah, let's get right down to it. I'm going to start from a baseline situation. If you have zero budget and just have a camera, you still can vlog. It does have to recognize some limitations. So I'll start off with just using sunlight and just using camera audio. I'll move on to incorporating two different types of audio feeds. I have a lapel microphone and I've got a dedicated microphone, after which I'm going to go on to shooting in a controlled environment, like let's say in a dark room just like this. If you're going for a completely budget option, this is how the audio and the video will look like without any lights and without any dedicated audio feed from, let's say, a microphone and a preamp. What you're hearing is a camera's internal audio, and what you're seeing is my windows open, my blinds are pulled all the way up, and all the light is coming in to expose my face. So the advantage of this kind of setup is that you don't have to spend money at all. The problem is that it's very dependent on whether you've got a good source of light for the day. You know, if you have an overcast sky, if it's raining, you won't be able to have this kind of lighting to shoot with. And if you, I really need to nitpick on this, the sound quality is going to be really bad. So this is unacceptable quality for YouTube streaming videos. And if you make videos like this, as I have in the past, you realize that people lose interest very quickly. So let's go one step up and see what we can do to improve things. As one step up, I've now used a lapel microphone to plug directly to the camera. So what you're hearing right now is this microphone over here. Now if I tap it, you should hear a little bit of a boom. Because this microphone might be a bit sensitive as I move around the shirt. So one of the advantages of this kind of lapel microphone is that it's close to your voice. The problem with this is that because it's on your shirt, and if you move it, you might get a bit of a you know, some boominess from moving around. And if I were to tilt my head down and talk, you might hear the volume go a bit up. So this is one of the problems of having a lapel microphone. Some people have worked around this by, let's say, wearing a hat during the video, and they put a lapel mic and route it somewhere at the top, you know, that little top part of the tip of the hat, and they put that microphone there just so that they're able to move around it and not have any problems with directional issues with the microphone. Next up, let's hear what happens when I switch over to a dedicated microphone and a dedicated preamp to get audio feed into this camera. We have now switched over to a dedicated microphone and preamp, so what you're hearing going to the camera is an Audio Technica AT2020 that with the diaphragm aiming roughly around my throat area so to capture the maximum tone and timbre from my voice. So hopefully you'll be able to hear and pick out the differences in its tone between the onboard camera, which is probably the worst option, and the lapel microphone, which is closer to the voice. And then you've got the AT2020, which is a big diaphragm condenser microphone that I would use for, let's say, a group situation. If I were to fit 2 people in the shot, I'll be able to get audio to for both people, or maybe 3 people if I can squeeze in more. Bottom line is, there's no one solution for to get audio to the microphone. You might need 2 or 3 different options available. I've now pulled the shades down, and I now have the room in a very dark environment, and I only turned on my room lights, and this is kind of lighting situation that most of you might encounter because you guys are working, you have lights outside, so maybe your blogging or your video making might only be at night. So at night time, it's a lot harder to get exposure right. One of the things that you will have to do, and definitely will have to do, is to crank up that ISO. So just now I was at ISO 200, making good use of the sunlight to have a good exposure, and ISO 200 has really good there's very little noise, the image looks good. As you start to get darker, you're going to have to crank up that ISO. Right now this camera is shooting at 800, ISO 800. Now at 800, ISO 800, you're going to see a bit of graininess, especially around the blacks and especially the corner areas here. If I were to crank it any higher, the problem with the 600D is that it only jumps, there's no incremental jumps from 800 to 1600. At 1600 ISO, it's really bad. So you might have to check what's the ISO tolerance of your camera. In my case, because it's a budget camera, it's not very high. It's only ISO 800. The next step is looking at how video lighting will improve the image quality. Alright, so in this shot, what's happening right now is that in addition to the room lights that are hanging over me, I've got an on-camera mic right here that's shooting white light, and I'm bouncing off this white wall over here. So what's happening is that I'm having some illumination on both the top and from this side of my face. So you're gonna get a bit more even exposure than just having the room lights. Sorry, I was looking at the screen just to make sure I was in focus, because the 600D's focus is not very good. So this is the kind of effect you can achieve with an extra camera mounted on extra camera. This is what happens when you have an extra light mounted on the camera and using a white wall to bounce that kind of light. So I like this image a lot because this really looks a bit more professional. And additionally, I'm back to ISO 200, which is a bonus because right now there's going to be less noise, hopefully, around the edges, and the blacks won't have that little pixelating thing happening when you crank up the ISOs. I'm going to try to illuminate the room a bit more, so I'm going to take an extra light and I'm going to try and bounce light off this side of the room just to bring up the exposure of the background. Alright, and now the final shot. This is achieved by having both a camera light that's bouncing off light on this wall, and I'm also having an extra light that's bouncing light off my other side of the wall here, which actually is my shelves, and I've got a mirror at the back too, so that's going to be a lot of illumination. The background's raised up in exposure, so right now it's a lot more even looking. If I were to turn off my light here, you're going to see that the background just got a lot darker. And maybe this could be a look that you want because you want the foreground to be in focus a lot more. But if you want something a bit more even, you can turn that light back on and you finally have this look, which I really am enjoying right now. So hopefully this video has helped some of you guys who are on a budget and want to improve your YouTube game. How are you getting by with budget gear? Do you have any specific tips on how to achieve certain quality looks without having quality gear? I'd like to hear your thoughts about that. That's it for me. If you have any questions, queries, or if anything you want to talk about, put them in the comment box and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. This is Justin signing off.